Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always. What are we exploring today?
Well, today we're getting into the world of power dynamics.
Ooh, sounds a little intense.
It can be, but it's also fascinating. And to guide us, we've got Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power.
Ah, Greene. He doesn't shy away from the more Machiavellian side of human nature, does he?
Not at all. Which is what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
And a little unnerving sometimes, to be honest.
Yeah, you start seeing these laws playing out everywhere. In the office, in relationships, even on reality TV.
Exactly. Okay, so to kick things off, how about we give our listeners a little taste of what Greene's all about? What makes his approach to power so unique?
Well, for one thing, he doesn't just preach from a mountaintop. He uses stories.
Right. Tons of examples from history.
Kings, emperors, con artists.
Oh, yeah, he loves a good con artist story.
They really illustrate the more cunning applications of these laws.
Exactly. So we're not just going to be talking about abstract concepts. We're going to be seeing these laws in action, which makes it a lot more engaging and, frankly, a lot more fun.
Definitely.
All right, let's jump into the first law. Never outshine the master. Sounds simple enough, right?
Deceptively simple, I'd say.
Okay, so how is this more than just don't make your boss feel insecure?
Well, Greene's really getting at the core of human psychology here.
Right.
It's about that need to feel superior, to be validated.
Especially for those in positions of authority.
Exactly. They don't want to be reminded of their own shortcomings or feel threatened.
So it's not just about being competent. It's about managing your boss's ego.
Precisely. It's about understanding how to present your talents strategically, not just blinding everyone with your brilliance.
Got it. And I guess a good example of what not to do would be Nicolas Fouquet, right?
Ah, Fouquet, the finance minister for King Louis XIV.
The one who threw the super lavish party.
Yes, he was trying to honor the king, but it backfired spectacularly.
Talk about an awkward office party. What happened?
The party was so extravagant, so over the top, it ended up highlighting everything Louis himself lacked.
Oh, so instead of impressing Louis, he accidentally made him feel inadequate.
Exactly. Talk about a bruised ego.
What happened to Fouquet after that?
Oh, let's just say he didn't get a promotion. He was imprisoned shortly after.
Yikes. Okay, so don't throw a party that's better than your boss's.
Right. But there are exceptions to every rule.
Okay, so when might it actually be necessary to outshine the master?
Well, if your superior is weak or on the decline.
Ah, so in those cases, playing it safe might actually be more dangerous.
It can be, because a weak leader can be easily manipulated by those around them.
Right. Okay, I'm starting to see the nuances here. It's not about blindly following orders. It's about understanding the power dynamics at play and adapting your approach accordingly.
Exactly. It's about observation and strategy.
Okay, on to law number 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. This one sounds a bit more ruthless.
It does, doesn't it?
So Greene is saying we shouldn't rely on our friends.
It's not about being a loner, but it's about recognizing that friendships, even close ones, can be complicated.
Especially when power dynamics are involved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Envy, competition, shifting circumstances, it can all strain a friendship.
Okay, I get that part. But how can you possibly UE an enemy to your advantage?
Well, think of Otto von Bismarck. He was a key figure in the unification of Germany.
Right.
Early in his career, to gain favor with the Prussian king, he publicly supported a cause he hated.
He was playing a role. That's a risky move. What if he'd been exposed?
It was calculated, and it worked. He gained the king's trust, which allowed him to later pursue his real goals.
So he used that initial act of deception to maneuver himself into a position of power.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to play the game to change the rules.
Okay, so even having enemies can be strategic. What about another example, someone a little less German?
How about Mao Zedong? During World War II, he saw an opportunity in the Japanese invasion of China.
An opportunity in an invasion.
He knew fighting a strong enemy would force the communists to improve their tactics, their organization.
So he was using the conflict to strengthen his own side.
He was leveraging it, even though it came at a terrible cost.
Wow, that's some serious strategic thinking.
Um,
Okay, on to law number 3. Conceal your intentions. I'm already feeling a little sneaky.
a little bit of mystery never hurt anyone.
True. So Greene is basically saying, keep your cards close to your chest.
It's about being strategic, calculated, not letting your emotions get in the way.
And I guess this is where the con artists come in handy, right?
Oh, absolutely. Greene loves those stories.
Like Yellow Kid Wow.
Oh, yes, Weil. He was a master at disguising his true motives.
The one who tricked that businessman into investing in the fixed boxing match.
Exactly. Giesel, I think his name was.
Roy Giesel. Weil completely played him.
He played on his greed, his fear. He made Giesel think he was getting this incredible insider deal.
And all the while, Weil was just setting him up to take a fall.
It's a classic con.
Okay, so this law is all about deception, right? But how do you avoid being known as, well, a liar?
That's the key. You don't want to be predictable.
Okay, so choose your moments carefully. Like, you might use deception to win a negotiation, but you wouldn't want to be known as someone who constantly lies and cheats.
Right. Think about Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia.
The one who faced off against that warlord, Balcha.
Yes. Selassie knew Balcha was ruthless.
So what did he do? Hire a hitman.
No, he did the opposite. He acted vulnerable, harmless. He showered Balcha with respect, even allowing songs praising him at a banquet.
He was playing the humble servant. That's a bold move.
It was a gamble, but it paid off. Balcha let his guard down, which gave Selassie the opportunity to outmaneuver him.
Wow, so sometimes the best way to win a power struggle is to act like you're not even playing the game.
Sometimes. Perception is everything.
Okay, I'm already starting to see the world differently. Let's move on to law number 4. Use absence to increase respect and honor. This one seems counterintuitive. Don't we usually gain influence by being present, by showing up?
That's the common assumption. But remember that limited edition sneaker we talked about? The one that sold out everywhere?
Oh yeah, the harder it is to get, the more people want it.
Exactly. Scarcity creates value, and that applies to human relationships too.
Okay, so instead of always being available, make yourself a little scarce.
Precisely. Greene tells this great story about Dionysius, an ancient Median judge. He was known for his fairness, for being available to everyone.
Sounds like a good guy.
He was. But then he decided to withdraw his services completely.
He quit.
He did, and guess what happened?
People realized how much they needed him.
Exactly. His perceived value went up because he wasn't so readily available. And when he finally returned,
He came back with more power.
he did. He set his own terms.
So by making himself scarce, he actually increased his influence. That's fascinating.
It's a powerful psychological principle. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say.
Okay, on to law number 5. Use the wisdom, knowledge, and legwork of other people. This one sounds a bit, lazy, to be honest.
Not lazy, strategic. It's about recognizing your limits.
So delegate.
Delegate, yes, but also about choosing the right people.
Right, because if you surround yourself with incompetent people, it's going to backfire. But if you find talented people and utilize their skills effectively,
You amplify your own power.
okay, any examples of historical figures who are good at this?
Tons. But a particularly crafty example would be Talleyrand, the French diplomat.
Ooh, Talleyrand. He was a master manipulator, wasn't he?
He was. He orchestrated Napoleon's exile.
He got Napoleon to banish himself.
By understanding his weaknesses, his ego, he manipulated events, played to Napoleon's pride.
Wow, that's some serious puppet mastery. Okay, on to law number 6. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. This one sounds a bit harsh.
It's about being realistic.
Okay, so instead of appealing to someone's compassion, I should highlight how helping me will benefit them.
Exactly. Figure out what they want, what they need, and frame your request accordingly.
So it's like, hey, by helping me, you'll also gain this.
Right. Think about it. We're all bombarded with requests all the time.
Emails, phone calls, social media.
Exactly. You need to make your request stand out. And appealing to self-interest is often the most effective way to do that.
Okay, got it. Any examples of this? Historical figures, maybe?
How about Joseph Duveen, the art dealer?
Oh yeah, him again. He was good at figuring out what his clients wanted, right?
He did his research.
Yeah.
When he wanted to sell to Andrew Mellon, he didn't just show up with a painting and say, "Pretty, isn't it?"
He tailored his pitch to Mellon's tastes.
Exactly. He highlighted how acquiring a particular piece would enhance Mellon's collection, his prestige.
So he was framing it as an investment, not just a purchase. Clever.
He understood human motivation.
Okay, on to law number 7. Discover each man's thumbscrew. Oh, this one sounds a bit, sinister.
This one's about the psychology of manipulation. It's about identifying and exploiting weaknesses.
So finding those pressure points that make people vulnerable.
Right. But it's also about knowing the risks involved, because manipulation can backfire.
Okay, any cautionary tales?
How about Henry VIII? He used Cardinal Wolsey to gain support for his divorce.
He was obsessed with having a male heir.
He knew Wolsey was loyal, would do anything to please him. But when Wolsey's support wavered,
Henry tossed him aside.
like a used napkin, which shows the danger of relying too heavily on someone else's loyalty.
Okay, so it's a reminder that power dynamics can shift, and those who seem like allies today might be enemies tomorrow.
Exactly. Always be aware of the potential for betrayal, even from those you trust.
Okay, on to law number 8. Create compelling spectacles. This one sounds a bit more theatrical.
It is. It's about understanding the power of visuals, of creating a lasting impression.
So putting on a show?
Think about Cleopatra's entrance into Tarsus to meet Mark Antony.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that. She sailed up the river on this magnificent barge, right?
Adorned with gold and purple, surrounded by attendants dressed as nymphs and cupids. It was designed to captivate, to awe.
Talk about making an entrance.
She understood the power of spectacle, of creating an unforgettable image.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you present yourself.
Exactly. Presentation matters.
Okay, on to law number 9. Stir up waters to catch fish. This one sounds like a recipe for chaos. Is Greene advocating for, like, creating drama and conflict?
It's about being disruptive. Sometimes, to achieve your goals, you need to shake things up.
But isn't that risky? What if things spiral out of control?
It's a calculated risk. Think about Harry Houdini.
The magician.
Yes, he had this rivalry with another magician named Clapini.
Oh, I remember reading about that. Houdini let Clapini think he had figured out one of his escape tricks.
He fed his ego, knowing it would ultimately lead to Clapini's downfall.
So it's about manipulating your opponent's emotions, getting them riled up so they make mistakes.
It can be. But it's also about choosing your battles wisely. Not every situation requires stirring up the waters.
Okay, so how do you know when to stir the pot and when to let things simmer?
Ask yourself, will creating disruption actually help you achieve your goals? Or will it just create unnecessary drama and conflict?
Right. Sometimes the best way to win is to simply stay calm and let your opponent self-destruct.
Exactly.
Okay, on to law number 10. Despise the free lunch. This one sounds like something my grandmother would say.
It's age-old wisdom for a reason.
So Greene is basically saying, don't trust anyone who offers you something for nothing.
Think about Philip Arnold and John Slack, the con men who pulled off that diamond mine hoax.
Oh yeah, they lured investors with promises of easy riches.
They played on people's greed, their desire for a shortcut to wealth.
And it worked. For a while at least. But those get-rich-quick schemes rarely end well.
Right, there's always a hidden cost, a catch.
So this law is a reminder to be wary of anything that seems too good to be true.
Exactly. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Okay, that's 10 laws down,
Oh.
and we're already seeing the world through a whole new lens. Are you ready for more?
Bring it on. Ready to dive back into Greene's world.
Absolutely. My mind is already buzzing with all these laws of power. It's like I'm seeing them everywhere.
I told you. You start noticing them once you're aware of them. It's kind of freaky, actually.
It is. Okay, on to law number 11. Learn to keep people dependent on you. So this is about creating a loyal following, turning people into your, devoted subjects.
It's not about being a dictator. It's about making yourself indispensable.
Okay, so how do you do that?
By providing something valuable, something people need, something they can't get anywhere else.
So becoming the go-to person, the one everyone relies on.
Exactly. Think about the IT person at your office who can fix any computer problem.
Oh yeah, they're like wizards. Everyone panics when they're on vacation.
Exactly. They have a certain power because they're indispensable.
Okay, I can see how that applies to, specific skills or knowledge. But what about in more general sense? How do you make yourself indispensable in, say, a social or political context?
Well, Greene talks about King Darius of Persia. He
Mhm.
owed his throne to a man named Silason.
What does Silason do? Save his life or something?
Not quite. Years earlier, he'd given Darius a beautiful cloak. Just a simple act of kindness.
And that came back to help him later.
Big time. Years later, when Darius was struggling to secure his power, Silason showed up, reminding him of the cloak.
He was calling in a favor.
Exactly. And Darius, feeling indebted, showered him with riches.
Wow. So even small acts of generosity can pay off in unexpected ways.
It's about building those relationships, creating a sense of obligation, making yourself someone people want to be indebted to.
Okay, on to law number 12. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your victim. This one sounds a bit manipulative, doesn't it?
It's about strategy. You're not being dishonest, you're being strategic with your honesty.
Okay, I'm not sure I follow.
Imagine a con artist who, after gaining their victim's trust, suddenly confesses to a small lie they told earlier.
Wait, why would they do that?
It disarms the victim, makes them think, oh, they're being honest with me now, so everything else must be true.
So it's like a calculated act of vulnerability.
Exactly. You're giving up something small to gain something much bigger.
Okay, any historical examples of this? Preferably ones that don't involve con artists.
How about Kuriyama Daisen, the Japanese samurai? He wanted this specific tea bowl owned by his friend, but he knew a direct request would be refused.
Too awkward.
Right. So he arranged for another friend to discover the tea bowl and offer an exorbitant price for it. The owner, flattered, sold it, and then that friend gifted it to Daisen.
Wow, that's sneaky, but also pretty clever.
He orchestrated the whole thing, and no one felt manipulated.
Okay, on to law number 13. When asking for help, appeal to people's self-interest, never to their mercy or gratitude. Wait a minute, haven't we already covered this one?
Yes, but it's so important that Greene repeats it. He really wants to drive this point home.
Okay, so it's like a double dose of self-interest. We get it. People are motivated by what benefits them. Anything else to add here?
Just a reminder that it's about understanding what the other person wants, what their goals are, their fears. Once you understand that, you can frame your request in a way that aligns with their self-interest.
Got it. On to law number 14. Pose as a friend, work as a spy. Okay, this one definitely sounds sneaky.
It's about being observant, paying attention to what people say and do, but also about being strategic with that information.
So it's like being a social detective.
Exactly. You're gathering clues, trying to figure out what people's true motives are.
Okay, but how do you do that without seeming like creepy or intrusive?
You need to be subtle. Don't interrogate people, don't pry. Just listen, observe, and let people reveal themselves.
So any tips from the masters of espionage?
Well, Joseph Devine, the art dealer, was incredibly good at this. He'd do extensive research on his clients before even approaching them.
He was building a profile, like a psychological dossier,
He wanted to understand their tastes, their motivations, their weaknesses.
so he could tailor his approach.
Exactly. He knew that to sell a painting, he needed to understand the buyer.
Okay, on to law number 15. Crush your enemy. Totally. Whoa, that escalated quickly. Is Greene advocating for violence here?
Not necessarily. It's about being decisive. When you've identified an enemy, a real threat, you need to neutralize them completely.
So no second chances. No mercy.
Think of it like pulling weeds from your garden. If you don't get the roots, they'll just grow back.
Okay, I can see the logic there. But isn't there a danger of going too far? Creating more enemies in the process?
Absolutely. This law isn't to be used lightly. It's about recognizing that sometimes, for your own survival, you need to eliminate a threat completely.
Okay, on to law number 16. Use absence to increase respect and honor. Wait a minute, haven't we already covered this one?
We have, but like the law about self-interest, it appears twice in the book. It's that important.
Okay, so abscess makes the heart grow fonder. Anything else to add on this one?
Think about celebrities. They often cultivate an air of mystery, of exclusivity.
Which makes them seem more desirable.
Exactly. It's the same principle. Don't make yourself too available. Don't overexpose yourself.
Okay, on to law number 17. Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability. This one sounds a bit, terrifying. Is this about ruling through fear?
It's about the power of unpredictability. If people don't know what to expect from you, they're more likely to be cautious.
So it's like keeping people on their toes.
Exactly. Think about a chess player who makes a series of seemingly illogical moves. Their opponent would be completely thrown off.
Right, they wouldn't know what to expect next. So it's about disrupting patterns, being unpredictable.
Precisely. It creates a sense of unease, of uncertainty.
Okay, any examples of this?
How about Bobby Fischer, the chess grandmaster? He was known for his unconventional openings, his daring moves. He'd completely throw off his opponents.
So he was using unpredictability as a weapon.
He was. It was part of his strategy.
Okay, on to law number 18. Isolate yourself from your enemy. Create an atmosphere of mystery. This one sounds a bit lonely. Is this about becoming a hermit?
Not quite. But it is about controlling information. Remember, knowledge is power.
So if your enemies don't know what you're thinking, what you're planning, they can't anticipate your moves.
Exactly. The less they know, the less power they have.
Okay, so it's about being selective with what you reveal. Keeping some cards hidden.
Precisely. Think about a king who rarely appears in public. His absence creates a sense of awe, of mystery.
So his perceived power actually increases because he's not constantly in the spotlight.
Exactly. Absence can be a powerful tool.
Okay, on to law number 19. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. This one seems pretty self-explanatory. Don't poke the bear.
It's about being observant. Not everyone responds to the same tactics. Some people are easily manipulated, others are more resistant.
So it's about reading people, figuring out what makes them tick.
Exactly. And knowing when to back down.
Okay, any examples of leaders who didn't quite grasp this law?
How about the ruler of Samarkand when Genghis Khan came knocking?
Oh yeah, he completely underestimated Genghis Khan, didn't he?
He dismissed him as a barbarian, paid a heavy price for that mistake.
It cost him his kingdom. Okay, so never underestimate your opponent.
Never. Power can manifest in unexpected ways.
Okay, on to law number 20. Do not commit to anyone. This one sounds a bit cold-hearted. Is Greene suggesting we should all become lone wolves?
It's about maintaining your independence, not letting yourself become beholden to any one person or group.
So, play the field. Keep your options open.
Think about Queen Elizabeth I. She ruled during a time of huge religious and political upheaval.
Catholics versus Protestants, it was a mess.
It was, and she navigated it brilliantly by refusing to fully commit to either side.
She kept everyone guessing.
Exactly. She played them against each other, which strengthened her own position.
So it's about staying neutral, not getting bogged down by alliances that might limit your options.
It's about strategic non-commitment, always maintaining your freedom to maneuver.
Okay, on to law number 21. Play a sucker to catch a sucker. Seem dumber than your mark. This one sounds a bit, well, deceptive. Is Greene suggesting we all start acting like idiots?
It's about playing to people's egos. People underestimate those they perceive as less intelligent.
So, dumb it down. Make yourself seem harmless.
It's about strategic self-presentation. Think about a politician who wants to connect with voters. They might adopt a folksy persona, using simple language, common expressions, even if they're actually quite sophisticated.
So they're playing a role.
Exactly. They're disarming people, making them feel superior.
Okay, but isn't there a danger of, like, actually seeming dumb?
There's always a risk, but remember those diamond mine con men we talked about?